Hi everyone, this is Daniel. I'm CEO of Youth Against AIDS, and I have the great pleasure to introduce Youth Against AIDS and our organization to you today. I try to give you an overview of what we are doing and also try to inspire you to take on ideas that we already implemented, but also to give you some thoughts on what I think it's important for young people in order to make a valuable contribution to the HIV response. Just to give you some context of Youth Against AIDS, this is basically us, and here are some key figures of our work. We are founded in 2010 in Germany, in the north, in a small town where we started just to collect donations on World AIDS Day. We were pretty successful because we collected over 20,000 euro, which is a huge amount of money for us. And first of all, we wanted just to give the money to a large NGO, but they told us, hey guys, you worked so hard for the money, so you should decide what to do with it. This was the initial starting point of Youth Against AIDS. And from there, with this 20,000 euro, we started to sit together and see, okay, what actually do we want to do now with this money? And while we started to think of HIV and AIDS in the context of youth in Germany, we realized that this topic is not really relevant for young people today. So when it comes to HIV in our German or Central European setup, we already or often experience a lot of perceptions. So people think HIV is something for gay men, it's something in Africa, or maybe it's something for drug users. So among young people, they nearly feel no relevance to this topic, and though they are not really interested to listen to us. That was the starting ground of Youth Against AIDS. And then we thought, okay, this is what we want to tackle. We want to create relevance in young people's life, and we want to make them aware of HIV and AIDS. So that was 2010. And from there, from this foundation, we started to develop to an international youth-focused NGO with 114 members. We have a team with 13 nationalities. We work in 6 countries. It's basically in East and Southern Africa, in Central Europe, and in North America. And we really believe in strong networks because as young people, we can't do everything on our own. So what we really try to do is to identify people who might support us as young people, but also convince other critical stakeholders to believe in us as youth, because you might know this feeling as a young person. It's very hard to get access to resources, to meet people, and all of this. So without a network, without strong collaborations, and without people who trust you, you won't able to do anything. And of course, the main priority of Youth Against AIDS today is we want to push for innovation and prevention because we see it's the 21st century. That's the reason why it's possible that we host a virtual conference now. But in the HIV world, we see a lack of innovation, especially among young people. The claim of our work is do it with love, respect, and condoms, because as young people, for young people, we don't want to send moral messages. We want young people to enjoy their lives, to feel comfortable with their bodies, to try new things, to have a lively sexuality, but they should do whatever they want with love, respect, and condoms. And this is the framework of our messaging, and this is what we want people to do. They should do what they want with love, respect, and condoms. And as you see within our messaging, we are focused on condoms, even though we acknowledge that there are several ways to prevent HIV today, for example, PrEP. We as a campaign, we want to push for condoms because within our target audience of general youth, we think the condom is the most effective or efficient tool to prevent new HIV cases, but also STIs. As we follow a broader sexual health approach, we also want to target and we want to prevent STI and new infections. So the condom is a tool of our choice. When we started, as I mentioned before, it's for young people, it's very hard to play an important role. So what we did in the past, we reached out to several personalities in Central Europe, but also in other parts of the world, and we established a strong advisory board. This really ties into our ambition to create strong networks. So, for example, within our advisory board, which they meet twice a year, we have key opinion leaders like the Federal Minister for Health of Germany. We do have the Deputy Director of Desmond Tutu Center from Cape Town, Linda Gay-Becker. There's the former Director of WHO for STI and HIV, Dr. Gottfried Hirnscher. We do have senior leaders from large corporations. We do have senior researchers, members of parliament from Germany. So it's a pretty bold advisory board, and what they do for us, they lend us their credibility and they open doors for us. That really ties into the aspect of collaboration. Besides this, we also partner with a lot of institutions, brands, companies, because of course, without resources, we aren't able to achieve our ambitious agenda. What is the current situation from my perspective? We identified some strategic challenges for Youth Against AIDS, which I think are also valid for Ukraine and Eastern Europe and Central Asia. Globally, we see a lack of STD awareness across the 13 to 24 years old. And I think that's nothing new for you, but when we, for example, have conversations around condom use, it's mainly, I speak for general youth, we talk about unwanted pregnancies. So in terms or in case that a girl used the birth control pill, no one is thinking or talking about condoms anymore. And they don't really consider STEs as a threat to their sexuality. We see a lack of sex education. This is why Youth Against AIDS is founded, because we had this word AIDS Day 10 years ago and no one talked about HIV, and there were a lot of perceptions. And I believe that proper sex education methods would prevent these circumstances. So this really what we try to push for is sex education. And as a result of social media, we also experience an increased sense of unease of young people with their own bodies. You may know this feeling that on Instagram people are happy and beautiful and rich, but that's not reality for a lot of people. So, but as a result, people feel uncomfortable with their own body. They always try to compare with others. And this unease, of course, also leads to a lack of self-confidence. And if you're not self-confident, if you're not brave enough to express yourself, it might be a challenge for you to also protect yourself and to have a conversation with your partner around prevention and condom use or other methods to prevent STIs, unwanted pregnancies, or HIV. We see a lack of youth-friendly services. Of course, there are several services that are targeting youth, but to be honest, the great majority of them, they're not really youth-friendly. Just because you have Wi-Fi or you paint the wall in a more colorful wall than this white here behind me, it's not a youth-friendly space. What we experience when we talk with our target audience is that there's a lot of judgments. There are a lot of judgments when it comes to these services, because people always feel ashamed to go there and to explain their situation. And in several cases, people they judge the patients, and so it's a very uncomfortable situation for them. Of course, there's a lot of social stigma, especially in more conservative societies in several regions of the world, and the social stigma keeps people away from care, keeps people away from testing. So stigma is a huge barrier in the end of this epidemic in the fight against HIV and AIDS. Of course, the access to these services are a challenge. There's often these places are in larger cities, so it's very hard to get there when you live in a remote area. In some areas, you don't have healthcare insurance, so it's very hard to access these services from a financial perspective. And what we see as a strategic challenge, and this is what I already explained, is the lack of innovative ideas that really make a difference for young people. And this is the context of Youth Against AIDS and where we see ourselves and the challenges we want to battle and overcome. The conclusion of these challenges is that the one and only answer of what we need is access, because without access for young people, we won't put an end to this epidemic, and without the access to critical services, we won't stop this. So what Youth Against AIDS tries to do and achieve with all the programs that we have in place is we want to create access to knowledge, protection, services, and this is the overall idea of what we're doing. It always starts with awareness creation, because without people's attention, you won't have people in your service, in your organization, you won't make them aware of certain topics. So it always starts with creation of awareness. And how we solve this issue is mainly with out-of-home campaigns, massive media. We work with internet stars from various regions of the world to use their reach to reach out to young people and make them aware. And from this general awareness, we then try to guide them to further services. This also happen on festival grounds and in stations, bus stations, wherever young people are in their natural habitat. We try to be there, and we really try to have a message for them. For example, on the left-hand side, you see the "Looks Good, Feels Bad" poster. It's a festival appearance we had last year, where we introduced 12 STIs, and we said "looks good but feels bad," really to create awareness around the topic, because we created this STIs in a very colorful and bold way. And then the people, once they came close, they realized, oh, it's about an STI. So there are several ways how we try to address young people. Of course, we attend a lot of conferences like these in the recently, a lot of virtual conferences, but generally conferences are a good hub for us to network with people, to meet each other, to exchange opinions. And one of our ambition is really that young people play an important role when it comes to decision making. So what we try to do on site these festivals is raise awareness for youth among key decision makers. So we have booths, we have video interviews, we create social media studios to stream the message from these conferences to the world, to the outside world, via social media. Here you can see our recent campaign in the lead up to the AIDS conference. It was all about we could end AIDS as a claim, because on the global level, where we advocate like on-site conferences, where we address the decision makers, we had a special campaign called "We Could End AIDS," because we want to collect ideas from youth, and we want to use these ideas and push decision makers to take on these ideas. And so last year at the IS conference in Mexico City, we created this "We Could End AIDS" campaign. And in the lead up to the AIDS 2020, we came up with a lot of great ideas from activists from all across the world to see, hey, this is what youth thinks needs to be done to end AIDS. A very, let's say, practical way of Youth Against AIDS to address these issues is sex education. And this ties in our access to knowledge pillar, where we really facilitate workshops with young people on peer level to open up discussion on sexual health and prevention without a teacher in the room, really to create a safe space where young people can express themselves, where they can ask questions without judgment. And this is basically where we come from. This is the core of the work that Youth Against AIDS is doing. And these programs are mainly in Central Europe. We are piloting some of these programs in Southern Africa. Here you can see a picture from South Africa. to identify the challenges and needs around peer education, but also to create blueprints that are scalable for us, no matter where we are. Regarding the access to protection, it's basically condom distribution. So what we do, we provide free brand condoms to young people in certain areas of the world to give them choice, to give them the availability, and also to provide them with youth-friendly, fancy condoms that they can access, but also that they like to use because it's a fun branding, it's bold, it's colorful. So this is something we established in South Africa, and from there we scaled it to Namibia. There will be a pilot in Kenya and hopefully also in Botswana. This is something we also do in Germany and in Austria. In Austria, for example, in prisons for young people, so youth prisons, so to say, really to provide young people with access to protection. The most important pillar for the future is our digital prevention, and also, as I mentioned, to organize the access to service. We started with a book, very old-fashioned but powerful, a book full of the FAQs that young people have around sex and love. It's the Fuck You book. And out of this book, we created a digital platform. And this platform is the gateway, the one-stop shop for young people to sexual health. And just to give you an idea, we started with a chatbot, and the chatbot leads to conversation with the young people, can answer pressing questions on demand, but also guide the user to various services. So on-site, on the Fuck You platform, there are several digital services like a condom radar where people can identify spots where they can get free condoms. We answer FAQs, as you can see here. So that's our digital way, or digital tool to target young people, and also to provide them with a concrete service. And this is something we started in the United States recently, and what we want to scale in more and more countries once we learned how people react to it, how they want to use it. So really we are in a research, and it's a beta version, and we want to improve from there and then scale it to other countries. The key learnings for me and also for you, in order to have some takeaways from this speech. First of all, thanks for your attention. But as a youth, a representative of youth, as a young person, as somebody who really wants to make a difference and wants to be engaged within the HIV community, the first thing is you need self-confidence, and you need trust. You need to trust in yourself, because when you have a concrete idea, you can do it. Without this attitude, it remains a challenge really to be active. But with the trust in yourself, that's one of the most important things. Support each other, network, and collaborate. You can't do anything alone, but talk to friends, talk to people you know and you like, talk to people you can convince, create networks, network with people, challenge your own ideas with others, create better ideas in the conversation with others. And this is really a guiding principle for us. And I think this is a good takeaway for you as well. We need to support each other. Don't think of competition. We should create synergies, and we really need to work together in order to end this epidemic by 2030. Lastly, come up with great ideas that you really believe in. If you're convinced, you can also convince others. And I think this is, out of these three, one of the most important aspects. It's not just an idea. You really need to have great ideas you really believe in. Once you're convinced, it's far easier to convince others and really to get some traction on the plans that you have, and really to make the first step to implement your own ideas, your own networks, your own organizations. These are just three key learnings that I have from 10 years experience at Youth Against AIDS, and I hope they are simple enough to understand and to take on, but meaningful enough also for you to take on and to make a challenge for you. Thanks again for your attention, and have a great conference. Thank you very much.